during the winter, and my family wasn't here, so I was going to a bunch of basketball games, men's and women's. I was going to baseball games. I was going to as many athletic events as I possibly could just to get around and meet people. I can't cook, so I was out at every single eating establishment around here. So it was great, and then obviously um, the pandemic hit, and it kind of slowed everything down a little bit. And so that's probably for me one of the things that's been the hardest is just continuing to develop relationships with people and meet people and it's one thing to have a face-to-face conversation with somebody. It's a whole nother thing to do like what we're doing right now with Zoom, right? It's just a different deal. It's a little less personal and that sort of thing. So that'd probably be the main difference right now. And then obviously not playing as has been unusual. But I think our kids and our coaching staff have responded well to it and have seen that there are, some positives to it. Obviously, we all want to play games, but there has been some positives.
Certainly, certainly. How has that been in your situation? We've seen some conferences just not play at all. How's that been kind of keeping your coaches positive, yourself positive, and the program positive when actually some of the other teams in the conference are still playing?
Yeah, so that's been, it's been unusual. I mean, I think our staff and our kids have seen how hard it is for maybe some of these other players, and they talk to other guys, and what's been really tough around the country is, hey, preparing for a game and then having it pulled out from under you, then preparing for a game the next week and then not playing again, and then preparing for the week and then thinking to themselves, oh, we're not going to play this one either, and then all of a sudden you're playing. And I think that's been really hard on 18 to 22-year-old kids to ramp up that investment and preparation every week and not always getting a return for it. So for us and our guys knowing, okay, we're investing, but we're investing for something much farther away and a grander scale and investing in just getting better each and every day. I think that kind of sense of knowing has actually helped our kids from a mental health standpoint, quite frankly. So that part of it's been has been a little bit better. Yeah. Do we still have our days where, hey, I got to get them going and all that sort of stuff? Yeah, we do. I thought our last practice that we had from an execution standpoint was pretty good. From an energy standpoint, it was probably a little bit less than we'd had in the past couple of days. But quite frankly, it was cold and dreary, and we just come off a hard, a scrimmage and all those sort of things. So I should have probably anticipated a little bit more. But in general, we've done a really nice job.
Good. So in a time like this, are you in the practice field, or do you turn on the scoreboard and the music and you guys in the game field, or, how do you try to create that atmosphere to kind of get to the highest level of athletic performance?
Yeah, so we've done a little bit of both. So we've been on the practice field every day. But then on, last Saturday, we were actually on the game field. You could feel the energy was a little bit different for the kids. So we'll end up doing that 3 times this fall. And then we'll end up doing it probably another 3 times in the spring. And then we'll probably get, next fall camp, we'll probably get around 4. So, I mean, you're talking, we'll be in there maybe 10 times before we actually play our first game in there as a staff and as a program. So that'll be good. But you'd like the energy to be created just through the love of playing the game too. So you don't want to always make it a false thing where we're dependent on fans, we're dependent on music, we're depending on something else, because that's when you can get in trouble and all of a sudden be down 21-0 early in the game. You've got to have your own energy and you've got to have all that sort of stuff. So we are talking about that. We'll even have a practice at some point where there's no music and the coaches will barely talk to try to get that. Now that's a ways down the line because we got to establish the culture and all those sort of things first, but that'll eventually happen as well.
Certainly. So with the cancellation of the season, unfortunately, are you in a mid-level or kind of mid-season, off-season practice schedule, or are you going to kind of ramp that up in the spring, or where are we in the off-season now since you're off-season? Are you trying to mirror other teams, or does this concentrate in the spring?
Yeah, so we're running it basically like it's a quote-unquote spring practice right now. So we're going 3 days a week practice. We're going 3 days a week lift. And so that's what we're doing right now. Where it got a little tricky is when we actually the NCAA allowed us to get to this, our training cycle, in terms of our lifting cycle, we were getting to a ramped up stage. So we had to kind of adjust both a little bit in order to maximize everything. So, but that's where we're at right now. Like I said, it's basically an additional spring practice.
Absolutely. So we have Q&A going, and those who are participating with us and listening in, please feel free to continue to send your questions in. Kind of a reintroduction of sorts. If you're just joining, we have Coach Ricky Rahne with us, head football coach at Old Dominion, and we're here at the beautiful Corn Blau Field at SB Ballard Stadium. And one of our sponsors, Atlantic Bay Mortgage, we're in their football complex in the sports suites here. But one of the questions, and certainly a question I had for us, how do you maintain academic performance during this time? Some person says, well, if they're not practicing or not playing as heavily, it may be easier. But a lot of people are driven by their athletic performance or the ability to be on that team and the ability to have their season. So it may not automatically be better for academics. So how do you and your staff handling and maintaining academic excellence right now?
No, that's a great point. It's basically split about 50-50 on how kids perform on that. The old adage of, well, kids always do better during the season because their time is more managed and stuff. That's not true. And I was a perfect example of that. If you go back in my college and you look at my GPA in season and out of season, I mean, it was significantly better out of season because in season, I'll just be frank, I cared about ball, so, and so it's about 50-50 on that. So that's a great point because we're kind of in that really, really gray area right now. So we're really working with the kids to do that. One of the issues is, there's not a whole lot of in-person classes right now. And some of these kids, they thrive on in-person classes and they might struggle on these, internet classes and Zoom classes and things like that. The other thing is there's no in-person tutors. There's no, so just little things like that maybe people don't think about all the time. And quite frankly, until this week, we weren't doing in-person study hall. We were able to find a way to, Dr. Ron Moses, our head of academic services, has done a great job and found a way to have in-person study hall where we're still socially distanced. But that was another thing that was a little bit hard. So there's been some things on that where I've been happy with our academic performance. Last semester, we got a 3.0 as a team. So that, that's one of our expectations and our staff is very high on academics. It's something that we talk about all the time, and so our guys know how important it is to me, and I'll pull a guy off a practice field and all those sort of things. So guys are aware of the consequences of not performing in the classroom.
Good. We're coming off a pretty informative health and wellness forum last night. And one of the things we had a doctor, she was in another athletic department here in the state, and their teams were practicing in pods. And then she talked about how sports medicine had to bring the student athletes back up to a practice pace and a game pace and a physical pace. What are some of the special measures you guys have kind of employed in your practices to kind of keep that distance, keep safe, but still keep practicing? Is that small group work? Is that, splitting the team up? Is that, using more of the field than you would normally? How's that looked?
Yeah. So, we have, well, first of all, in meetings, we meet half at a time so that we can stay socially distanced inside. And anytime you're inside our building, you have a mask on. Whether you're in a meeting with, whatever, you have a mask on all the time. So I'm in a room alone right now, so I can have mine off. But, staff meetings are all on Zoom. We don't ever meet together as a staff and that sort of thing. So, but we broke up our meetings with our players in half. So I have to do 2 team meetings a day. Just the way we've got it done. It's just, it's ended up being very good. It's allowed us to have less guys in the locker room at a time. It's allowed us to have less guys in the training room at a time, all those sort of things. Then on the field, we have eye shields, full face guards right there. And then we have a mask that they wear there. And then if their helmet is off, they pull up a mask. So, those are all measures we're taking. Everybody has gloves on. Just little measures like that that we're doing. And then anytime we can spread the guys out and do those sort of things, that's what we're doing in terms of in lines or in all those sort of things. We're spreading guys out. So it's been there's been a lot of different measures that we've done that have been really good. Coaches, we have masks on the entire time. We don't ever take our masks off. So, I have an electric whistle now, I mean, so there's all these things that are just a little bit different than maybe we've had in the past. And we're getting used to them and all those sort of things, but it's allowed us to get better every day. Our guys wear masks when they're in the weight room the entire time. So that's something that they've had to get used to. Like when I'm working out in the treadmill, I have a mask on, so there's a lot of different things that we're doing to try and keep the guys safe, including obviously testing and all those sort of things as well.
So I would imagine, with those measures and the painstaking care you guys are taking in all aspects, the numbers have been pretty low for you. You've been able to proceed pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to do pretty well. We've been able to do as a university. We've been able to do pretty well. I thought, the university's done a great job. President Broderick has done a great job. Dean Stansberry and Greg Dubois have done unbelievable. And those guys have all done an unbelievable job of making sure that our campus is safe and that's been really, really good. So I think that's been something that has been great, because it's the safer our campus is, the safer our kids are going to be, right? And so that's been a part of it. So we've been able to keep the numbers fairly low, and obviously no one is immune to this thing. So we've got to understand that too, and educating the kids on how this is a real life thing and how it can affect people was part of it.
We've done a number of shows talking about how this has affected the recruits and trying to get to college, or a college recruit trying to get to the next level. But, how has this affected your recruiting? Obviously, you have a great facility and great coaching staff and a good roster, but you're only as good as your next class or your recruiting efforts. How are you going about recruiting with these kind of restrictions and these guidelines?
I'm going to be honest with you, it kind of played into how we were going to recruit. So it hasn't affected us as much as maybe it could have. Okay. We were very focused. We have, of our 10 full-time coaches, not including myself, we split up the state of Virginia into 10 different areas. And then we stayed we've got a tight-knit recruiting area. We go up to New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and we go down to South Carolina, but that's really it. We'll recruit a couple junior colleges here and there, but we're not going to, go all over the country. We decided to be a regional operation because we know this region has such great football talent and great high school football coaches. So we felt really comfortable. So establishing those relationships early and doing that sort of thing, we've been able to build trust with the coaches, and we trust them. And so we were able to recruit some kids pretty early, and it's helped us. We feel good about our class and what it's going to be. We've established some great relationships with those kids, and they've established good relationships with each other. And so it's been it's been different not being able to get them on campus. We've had, to have virtual tours and virtual unofficial visits and things like that, but we've been able to get through it. I think our staff has done an unbelievable job. CJ Owens, our director of recruiting, has been awesome. So I think that in general, we've done a nice job, and I've got a young staff, right? So they're used to using technology to be successful. So that's one of the many benefits of having the youngest coaching staff in America. So wow. that was one of them.
Good. Well, like I said, people just don't realize the responsibilities and the challenges on a head coach and a coaching staff. We talked academics, we talked recruiting, we talked, maintaining physical preparedness, but we also have other social issues, going on in the nation and even in the region. And how have you addressed some of those with your players? Obviously, probably having a very diverse team as I look at your roster, and keeping those guys positive, keeping those guys on the same page. Obviously, they look at the news, they look at social media, but how have you kind of kept them even keeled with so many things going on in the news, media, racial tensions, and others?
Yeah. So right when the unfortunate death of George Floyd happened, it was in the middle of COVID and all those sort of things. I decided I called every single one of our players, and I talked to them individually. I didn't think a group text message, I didn't think anything like that was going to work. I needed to talk to each one of them. And the main reason why is it was going to affect guys differently across the board. Some guys were really going to want to talk about it. Some guys weren't going to want to talk about it at all. and so it was something that I just talked to each guy, asked them how they were doing, what they thought, just wanted to hear their thoughts and feelings, asked them if they wanted to hear mine. I didn't really, I wasn't going to just say my feelings if they didn't want to hear them either. So it was just, quite frankly, it was more of a personal connection with each guy, and that thing. And then we brought it up a couple other times, and we're doing some things. We're trying, we're getting an internship program, a mentorship program rather, excuse me, with Blair Middle School, which is in the area. That's been huge. That's going to be a big time focus of our program going forward, and hopefully branch off maybe into some other middle schools as well. Our kids wanted to do middle schoolers. That's what our players wanted to do. Voting, we've got every single guy on our team but two registered to vote, and those two tried, but they were out of state and how they had to get their registered. So they ended up finally getting registered, but it is what it is. But so, I mean, we're not practicing on Tuesday. I've talked many, many times about voting. I already voted. It couldn't be easier this year, voting. I mean, it's unbelievable how simple they've made it. But that was one thing I wanted is, despite whatever your political affiliations, using our right to vote, and all the people who have struggled for, minorities' right to vote and women's right to vote, and all those sort of things, is to not use that right to vote is really a slap in the face of those people. So that's been one of the things that I've really emphasized on as well. And we did a march on campus that our players organized. And everyone was like, and I didn't want to talk at that, not because I didn't want to speak at it. I didn't want to take away from the fact that they did this, right? If I go up there and talk now, I made them do
that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But they did it, that this was them. They wanted to put this together. This was about them. And that's one of the things I keep emphasizing, like, guys, this is about you. You know what I mean? Like, this is about what you want to do with these sort of things. And obviously I'm going to support you in any way I can.
We even saw, in the media, to where, your players teamed up with other players from other colleges at times, and were ventured into the community, just to raise awareness and to, let people know that, hey, look, they're just not going to stand for certain things. And that's so neat and, innovative how, you approach the situation and called every single one of them or Zoomed every single one of them, or however you communicated with them, just to kind of get their opinion on that. We certainly have a lot of respect for that. Obviously we talked about many challenges, talked about changes, cancellations, delays, but what have been some of the positive things you've experienced in this first year? Obviously a great facility, a somewhat of a newer program, but a lot of success. And, coming in here after a pretty good run, what are some of the positive things that you see and some of the opportunities that you're looking forward to as being the head coach at Old Dominion?
Yeah, the positives far outweigh the negatives, quite frankly. Yeah. I have had some of the most fun I've had in coaching in a long time, just getting to know all these guys. I have an unbelievable staff that is fun to be around, and their football knowledge is second to none. I've been able to watch a bunch of football, and I don't mean watch like on, CBS. I mean, I've been able to use coaching tape and just watch a bunch of football and see all the cool things that coaches around this country are doing. I've been able to really study game management situations and know, what do I want to do in certain situations. Not having been a head coach, I've got to, I'm not going to, there's no preseason for me in terms of that, right? I got to get all that stuff hammered out. So I know people think I'm being crazy. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every single bit of it. Things that maybe even like I didn't know I was going to enjoy, such as, some of the, going out to dinner with the donors or speaking at things like this. I didn't always know I was going to enjoy that. I've loved it. And so I've had an unbelievable experience. Old Dominion is awesome. The fan support is unbelievable. Like that beautiful stadium you've got behind you is when that thing's got 22,000 people in it, it's going to be rocking. So, and the talent in this area and the high school coaches in this area, I mean, man, that's second to none. And I don't mean, I love the 757 and we've done a nice job recruiting here, but even just throughout the entire state of Virginia and all throughout this whole region. So trust me, the positives far outweigh the negatives. It's not even close.
Good. And seeing the team that you have, and then obviously seeing some of the other teams participate and compete. How do you feel about your prospects going into next year as it relates to, your roster strength or your recruiting and in comparison to some of the other teams?
People have asked me that, and it's funny. I'm not trying to be coy. I really haven't looked at it. I've just been more interested in making sure that our guys get better every day.
Right.
And until we get our entire roster here, which this whole class that we're recruiting now is still going to come in here and they're going to be part of this thing. And until we go through, spring practice and then all through the weight training and then into fall camp and all those sort of practices, I'm not going to know. And even then, you don't really know how guys are going to perform then. So, I'm more worried about making sure our team gets better every single day. And honestly, that's how we're measuring. We talk about going 1-0 every day, and that 1-0 is competing against ourselves, right now. And so that's what we're talking about. And that's what we're focused on. I really haven't watched too much of the opponent film. Will I? Of course. I'll watch every snap they did this year, but I'm not going like right now. It doesn't benefit us as much as it will in, quite frankly, March and April. So.
Certainly something you mentioned in a question before last, being your first year as a head coach, this actually could have been a positive, having some extra time to kind of prepare to talk about game management, to talk about running an overall program, running the staff, just running the entire ODU ODU football operation as a head coach. So the actual quarantine year, the COVID year, not having to compete this year actually could have been a positive thing. So, you're getting some Q&A here. You enjoying that time and you taking the time to kind of get up to speed, you kind of feel or maybe even agree that having this year could have been a positive.
Yeah. So I have the most beautiful and wonderful wife in the whole world. And that's what, and she's kind of told me that, she's like, hey, listen, this is going to end up being a positive for you. You're going to get more time to develop your players, more time to build relationships with these guys, more time to build relationships with the coaches, more time to hone in on your playbook, more time. She goes, hey, more time with your own kids, right? My kids last night were telling me, my oldest son was like, yeah, you're cool enough, Dad. You're cool. I like hanging around with you. It's like, all right, well, thanks, bro. So, just little things like that. Time I would have never got with them. Normally during a week, I get Thursday nights and Saturday nights with my kids, during a season. So now I'm getting basically every night with them and that sort of thing. So it's been awesome. There's been a lot of, I have a closer relationship with my wife than I've ever had, and I've known her since we were both 19 years old. So it's just, there's a lot of positives to this thing. And we talk about our kids all the time, opportunity over obstacle. And, you can either view a situation as an obstacle or an opportunity. And I'm choosing to view things as an opportunity. And there's a ton of opportunity for us to get better, a ton of opportunity for me to be around my family and make me stronger there and make our family stronger, for me to have better relationships with people that I normally wouldn't, for me to build relationships with people across the country, as I've just been writing notes to coaches that I've seen them do a really good job. And it's amazing how many of them have written back to me or called me. So just little things like that. There's a lot of opportunity here. And the obstacles are obviously great. And we have, a pandemic to defeat and all those sort of things, but there's still a lot of good that can come out of all this.
Well, Coach, that's such great insight, and especially your last point, just turning this to a positive. We say here in our organization at the Chamber, pivoting to the positive. It certainly sounds like you guys have done that and push that attitude down towards your kids and your staff and those in the community who watch the program. We know you're on a tight schedule, got coaches to prepare for, 2 coach and staff meetings today instead of 1, and we do appreciate this time at this special time. Coach Rahne here with us. We'd like to thank our sponsors again, Atlantic Bay Mortgage, Optima Health, the Hampton Roads Chamber, of course, and CHKD Sports Medicine. Coach Rahne, we certainly wish you the best. We wish the program the best. We look forward to you guys getting in the spring when spectators can kind of come back around and next season. Tune in for our next episode of Sports Talk 757 on November 12th. We have NBA Finals referee Tony Brothers will be with us. Sports Talk 757 continues to roll on. More information about the Hampton Roads Sports Commission, please visit hamptonroadsports.org, and a proud affiliate of the Chamber. Coach Rahne, have a great day. Good luck on your practices. Good luck to your coaches and your players, and we thank you, Coach.
I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. And let's just everybody in the 757. Let's fill that place up next year, and we'll get it rocking and get this place going. So I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you.
We'll be behind you to do that. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.